What is up, fellow Titans? Welcome to my part 2 of the previous Titan Season 4 video we did, in where we are nerding out about Titan Season 4 Part 1 and Part 2 in the off-season, because right now we've had 6 episodes of Titan Season 4 and we're waiting for Part 2, and that's kind of one of the questions in today's video. You guys seem to really enjoy the last episode of this discussion series, so I'm going to keep it going. I had some questions left over, plus you guys gave some good ideas, theories, and everything like that in the previous video, so I've taken some comments from there. So without further ado, let's just get into the first comment, but not before actually hitting like on that video. This video, yes, this video you're watching right now. Please hit the like button. It really helps these videos out. Maybe share it on social media with your fellow Titans friends out there. Get some more Titans in here. But anyway, T-Bear said 2 weeks ago on the previous video, and I really enjoyed talking about the whole brother blood fate side of things, because we know that we're getting Joseph Morgan's brother blood really ramping up. I mean, we're still yet to see him in his suit. The last we saw of him, he literally went into the little pit in the Temple of Azarath. So T-Bear says, I feel like Brother Blood will try to keep the Titans at bay, or trying not to hurt them at first until someone pushes. Then he'll have to turn more sinister, and that's when Raven will try something wild to bring him back. And I do agree. I think there's some unknown aspects of what exactly the major change is going to be in Sebastian going forward. As I've said many times before, granted that he said to Tim Drake when he's like, no, don't do it. Raven was like, no, don't do it. And then he drank from the chalice. He says, I'm tired of being nothing, or something like that. He still isn't really the type of guy to agree to, as he heard in the Titans van, yeah, your dad, he ruined a planet by the age of 6. He tried to ruin our planet. And you really got to subscribe to that. So I'm wondering if the blood that he has consumed will kind of corrupt his personality more. So I don't want to say it's identical to Jason taking the no fear toxin, because that's what led him to kill Hank and do all of those terrible things. He wasn't quite himself. But in a roundabout kind of way, will there be any Trigonic influence to the man that we knew, who was pretty nice from what we could gather? You know, he didn't seem like a terrible person. Now that he will literally have some Trigonic aspects, like who knows what that blood will do? Is it Trigon's blood? Is it something like that? Will that running through his veins, on top of the fact that he is a son of Trigon, influence that even more? But going back to the main point, I speculate that maybe we will see, as you said here, keep the Titans at bay, not really want to hurt them, but as things do inevitably get pushed by the Titans, like we've had it teased from Joseph Morgan during filming, that towards the last few episodes of filming, I need to try and kill Nightwing now. Like, we're having a big fight. So evidently it's going to get up to like a really big precipice of a moment where the Church of Blood, or Sebastian, or Brother Blood even by that point, wearing his suit, will be trying to do something that will be the change in the world, whether Mother Mayhem is there or not, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. And that's going to force him to really think about, well, Nightwing, if you're coming for me right at the end of the season, you're either going to have to stop, or I'm going to kill you. But what about Raven? What about Raven? These are the things I'm looking forward to, because that's his half-sister, and there was a little bit of a connection forged there, on top of the fact that he isn't a terrible person. It's like we still need to see a bit of a development there. I know we got some backstory that they gave us of a younger Sebastian, like being rejected, or like he broke up his relationship. That was the last flashback. Then when he was younger, he had to give his games console to the other foster kid, who turned out to be a Church of Blood implant as well, or whether she was recruited later on in life, I don't know. You'd have to think it was there from the get-go. I don't know, but either way, I do agree that we're still going to see a bit of a build. I think that might frustrate some people, even though we've known from the beginning this is a bit of a slow burn season. But what I will say to those who are like thinking, we're still going to maybe... Things will ramp up, definitely now that Sebastian's gone into the Blood Pit and Temple of Azarath. But you will be getting, I think, the best, or at least, I suppose, most performative Titans content in Season 4 in this back half / part 2. So up next from Grey Jedi 2001, he says, I do definitely think Sebastian will kill Mother Mayhem, but that might not necessarily be his redemption. In the comics, the Brother Blood mantle is passed on from father to son by the son killing his father. Maybe in this version, similar to how Mother Mayhem had to kill Gina to get more power from Trigon, Sebastian has to sacrifice Mother Mayhem to fully become Brother Blood. Now, I do very much so agree there. That is a thing in the source material. It is a mantle that gets passed down from father father to son. The son ascends to the rank of brother blood when they've wiped out their dearest dad. And that's the thing. That's not really how it's being handled in this show. It seems that Sebastian is just, you know, they've kind of in this adaptation changed things a little bit. He's just come into it because he's Mother Mayhem's son, and they've taken on their own prophecy, because of course we can't forget that the original prophecy was that Raven would be standing side by side with her father, and then to his surprise that didn't happen, and he got, you know, yeeted back into the portal in season 2 episode 1. But now we have kind of like this other prophecy that's come out of thin air, and turns out that no, there's actually another half brother to the original prophecy's chosen one, and that is Sebastian. But you're right, maybe in this iteration, and I really wouldn't be surprised by the way that Trigon likes to kind of fart in the little bloodbath and convey his messages that way, that if one time Sebastian is alone in the Temple of Azarath, that Trigon might do his little bubble bath, if you know what I mean, and say to him, hey, yeah, I need you to kill Mother Mayhem. He seems to, like, weirdly get off on that. It's like, hey, kill Gina. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. And I do think that will make Sebastian pretty conflicted, but it is kind of a predictable thing, but regardless, something that I look forward to. At the same time, I could be wrong, you could be wrong, and it could be something vastly different. But I do suspect that the whole theory of Mother Mayhem not surviving this season, and maybe because of Brother Blood ascending higher, could be the very reason that happens. I would love to hear your theories as well. Like, maybe you agree that Mother Mayhem isn't going to make it to the very finale. Maybe you think that she isn't going to die via Sebastian. Let me know if you have another way that she might not survive. Or maybe you do think that she will survive. Maybe she could actually die in the finale. But I do think that Sebastian, as Grey Jedi 2001 is proposing here, maybe as he's so close to changing the world, he needs that kind of one bit of level up boost. And Trigon says, look, if you want to do this, if you really want to fulfill your destiny as Brother Blood, I need you to kill Mother Mayhem. And because Sebastian is pressurized by being on the precipice of that change, and considering that, you know, granted that this is his mother, I'm assuming by this point he might have gone further down the darker path. He hasn't known her his whole life. They're not exactly that madly close. Yeah, he might just do it to get that final little drop of power to do what needs to be done. Lord Vader. Up next from Tom McNeil saying White Raven could also be a situation where the evil of Trigon has been removed and her powers are purified. The crystal that was housing her powers, Soul Self, absorbed the evil, and when they returned to her, they were purified. On that note, I'd like to see a full manifestation of her Soul Self in the show. Now, I would agree with that, and I think that's like a really cool theory. We were talking about this in the last episode of this Titans Season 4 off-season discussion series. If you haven't tuned into that, we were talking about how is White Raven on this show. And long story short, it is different to the comics. I went into the fact that now that Raven, and this is what the show's logic gave, and it was basically, if you read between the lines of the subtext, Lisa Ambalavanar's Jinx said something along the lines of, your powers wouldn't have really have been taken from you if you really wanted to have them, or something like that. And then Raven was saying back that, you know, I liked living a normal life. It's kind of what I've really wanted because I've known nothing else because I've had these freaking demonic powers. But maybe living a normal life is a bit overrated. So by the time that they raided the Temple of Azarath to get Superboy back and Sebastian, she wanted them again. So the show's logic is that, and this is what I'm gathering, she was actually ready to have her powers and accept them for the first time in her life, so they manifested and kind of evolved like a freaking Pokemon, for lack of a better way of putting it. But the theory that Tom McNeil was going on here is that when they were housed in that crystal that Mother Mayhem put them in after she whooped the Titans' asses, that when they came back to her, that they were kind of void of the Trigonic taint, if you will. Now, the reason why I don't necessarily think that is the case, even though I think it's like a really cool way of looking at it, is because when they still flew out the crystal, when Gar smashed them in gorilla mode, they were still just as black and gooey as the CGI VFX was in all the previous seasons. So it still seemed, if you go by that logic, that her powers were all demonic looking because of the Trigonic influence. I mean, she is, you know, half her father, demon powers and all that. Those were still present when they went back into her. I think, to be honest, and this isn't just me blowing smoke up my own ass or anything, I just think that it is kind of what the show said. That despite them still having a bit of a demon taint to them, when she absorbed them again, and again, they look the same as they always had been, in that moment, for the first time in her life, Raven was ready and actually wanted them and accepted them. So she, again, she went from frickin' Charmander to Charmeleon. The thing is, if that is the answer and she was ready to accept them now, and while that is a valid, you know, way of, I suppose, adapting it, I still feel like a lot of fans, you know, a lot of fans of White Raven in particular might not be so huge on that way of it. And I remember reading some of the comments that I've taken from the previous video that they just don't feel like that she's, you know, got that power level that she should have as White Raven. Granted, though, I do want to say we haven't really seen it outside of that last, like, I don't know, 2-minute scene when she transformed and then more or less the episode ended. So I do want to give some defense to the show that we could see Raven, like, super powerful. Granted that she did use her power and it looked pretty awesome. It was like a, you know, gleaming version of the power she had before. And it didn't seem all that different. She was still just kind of going like this. But we do have to wait and see. But on that note, by the way, I do want to show that we have a new look at White Raven. Now, I know we've seen this in the show, but as you guys know, sometimes we get those suit release images from LJ Supersuits when they kind of have the little stock images of the Titans, each member. And here we have Tegan Croft wearing the White Raven suit. This is when she would have gone in to actually put it on and actually do some proper Titan Season 4 promo shoots. So here's a really good look at the suit. And personally, I do dig it. Like, if you're bringing something like White Raven into live action, sure, there's probably a few other ways that you could do this suit. Maybe have the fabric a bit more one note. But what I like about how LJ Supersuits did this is that she said something like they wanted the kind of, you know, thin kind of weavy bits to kind of reflect the powers that she has. And I think that's like a really creative way of doing it. I think Tegan Croft looks badass as White Raven here. But maybe you have some alterations or modifications of your own that you would have gone with. But, you know, by all accounts, I do think that, you know, this isn't a bad White Raven look. I think it looks pretty awesome. These promo shots look pretty awesome. But as for White Raven for the remainder of the season, will that be great? We have to wait and see. But of course, going back to the question from Tom McNeil, let me know your thoughts on his theory, or do you think it was more from what the show was hinting at, that she was kind of ready to have her powers, whereas before she actually didn't really want them, which is apparently why they could be taken from her. Now up next is from Christine Flores. I hope I didn't butcher that name. Flores? Either way, I just have this feeling that Raven will get through to him, and in return he will sacrifice himself or kill himself to end it all, because he feels that's the only way to save it. I definitely think that this is a valid theory. I think that despite how much evil we could still have yet to see with Sebastian in full-on Brother Blood mode, so he's got the suit on, you know, as I said, it could still be a bit of a slow burn till we get the suit. Maybe not episode 7, could be episode 8 or 9, but in between that time, he could do some, like, terrible things. This is the Church of Blood after all. But right up until that moment, even after fighting Nightwing, if Raven does get through to him, I do feel like if he sacrifices himself, so Joseph Morgan's Sebastian, Brother Blood, dies, and in that moment he realizes that, oh, I really hope they write this well, because if he realizes that, oh, bringing Trigon back, bringing Dad back, we'll do all this and burn the world, and he kind of knew that when the Titans said that to him in the van and everything like that, this is what he did, and now he's subscribing to changing the world, which you have to think is bringing Trigon back in some way or another. Like, I really don't know what the alternative is. Like, they keep speaking about the apocalypse, right? So if he only realizes that then, and that's why he chooses to do something that stops Trigon from coming back, stops the end of the world, stops the apocalypse, and that thus means he might have to sacrifice himself, again, I really hope they write that well, because he kind of knew this before. But without repeating myself too much more, I do think he might do that because the show will be going for that Sebastian did do something that mattered. I think all he's wanted, as what we've seen so far in this show, is to kind of matter, be seen, do something that makes him feel like he's not nothing. And even though there is another prophecy, again, that kind of came out from thin air, that means that he will be the one to rise with his father. He could, it may be a bit similar, but he could do the thing that Raven did and save the world. The unfortunate thing for Sebastian is that unlike Raven, she survived, she saved the world, she prevented Trigon from destroying it like he's done with other planets and sent him back to his interdimensional realm. But with Sebastian, I think the only credit he's gonna get is, okay, you prevented it, like your sister, but you're gonna have to die. I do think that could be where it goes, as you say yourself, Christine, you know, to end it all, because he feels like that's the only way to save it. It might be the only low-key-ish redemption he might get if he does some diabolical things leading up to that moment when he could sacrifice himself. At this point, Mother Mayhem, he could have already killed her to gain up a power level like we've been theorizing about. That might not be the case. It could be something entirely different, but we do know that he's suiting up. He's gonna almost fight to the death with Nightwing, but if Raven or somehow or some way Sebastian in Brother Blood mode gets, you know, someone breaks through to him and he prevents it, and only he can prevent it, since I suppose maybe he's the one after all taking charge of whatever's gonna ignite this apocalypse. Maybe that's through actually bringing Trigon back through that portal, and it creates this cataclysmic event that when he changes his mind, somehow he dies, and Joseph Morgan will be putting on one of his great, you know, emotional performances, where, again, it rings back to Sebastian mattering. Even though you didn't need to do all of that just to prevent it, but you get the idea. I know I've been rambling for a bit, but I do think Christine is probably on something here. And, you know, Brother Blood is a villain origin story, as we know. But one thing I have maintained since day one in my theories is that it will be a tragedy. And I do think, and I've always said as well, just like Christine here, that I don't expect him to survive. And whether it's because of this or something else. But let me know your own expanded thoughts on this line of thinking. Kevin Alanis asked something that is very interesting. These are all interesting questions. So great video, thank you. Thanks for answering my question. So you've got another question answered here. When will Titans Season 4 Part 2 air? I don't know, right? I don't know for sure. But I remember seeing some comments on that previous episode saying, oh, Titans Season 4 is definitely premiering January 12th. You know, it's a week after like Doom Patrol Season 4 Episode 6 ends, because they're going on break and splitting the season into 2 parts as well. So Titans has to be the next week, but that's not the case. So here's one thing we do know, that Titans Season 4 is really likely not airing this month. Like, we're now in January 2023. I don't know what day you're watching this on, but right now, the day I'm recording this is the 3rd. There's been absolutely zero promo of Part 2. Granted, that could still come, but we've had a list of January HBO Max releases, and this is why most places are reporting for now that January isn't the month for Titan Season 4 Part 2 releasing. Because when you have a list for HBO Max, you know, a slate saying, oh, this is coming on HBO Max, or this is returning, this is coming out, this is releasing at this date, January 16th, January 22nd, Titans wasn't on the month of January. So I can safely say and assume that Titan Season 4 Part 2, so starting with Episode 7, will not be this month. Now, that could mean it could come early February, and if that's the case, I imagine we'll get a promo sometime towards the mid to end of this month, so anytime after the, I don't know, the 16th to like the 20-something, but at the same time, it could still be March. I don't want to like speculate that much, because, you know, if you want to go into March, April, that's quite a long time. So I'm hoping for February, and if it is February, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a trailer for Part 2. And we'll do the usual thing on this channel. We'll break down all the stuff that we can look at, and, you know, that would be a really fun time just seeing what could be coming in Episode 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, I believe it is. But if it's towards the end of February, we might not even get the promo until February, the trailer, if you will. And God forbid it be March, you know? So, but one thing I can tell you is that it's very and highly likely not releasing this month. So don't think that Titans, just to be on the safe side, don't think that it is releasing January. hope for February. Really hope that it isn't March, but hopefully that gives you a slight bit of an update here because, again, this is all coming from the fact that we saw a release schedule for January for HBO Max shows, and Titans wasn't on it. So, yeah, I will keep you guys up to date as soon as we know about it. Plus, as I said, they will be releasing a trailer. I can't fathom how they wouldn't. So I'll be doing a breakdown on that on the channel. So make sure you have notifications on and make sure you click it again and select them to all instead of personalized so you don't miss out on that video. But for now, I'm hoping for February, maybe mid-February, late February. Maybe if we're insanely lucky, it could be like February 8th or something like that. And then that would mean we get a promo towards the end of January. But for now, let's watch this space. So EMNK says, do you think Kory will fly this season? Yes. I do remember at New York Comic Con, they teased, and I can't remember who said it or if, you know, Anna Diop said it herself or whatever, but I do know somewhere that they tease that Kory will fly. Even when that happens, I wouldn't expect her, as of when she flies from that moment from there on out, she's flying all the time. I think it could be one of those cinematic moments where her power, as we know, like one of the Star Labs lab techs said that if she goes too ham with it, like her power will be so much it kills her. That is 100% a foreshadowing for that Kory's life is going to be in danger, as Brenton Thwaites has said as well, that something happens to Kory, which in turn, because of like this danger she's in, brings to the surface how much they care about each other and makes Dick and Kory say to each other like, oh crap, like if your life is in danger, I need to tell you how I feel about you. So I feel like whenever that danger comes or like whatever's going on there and it's a result of her own power being a bit too powerful, she could like levitate in that moment, maybe fly. But again, I don't know if people are going to view this as a cop-out. I just wouldn't expect her to fly all the time after that. But yeah, without rambling too much more, I have heard that she flies, and I think it will be used sparingly. Pretty sparingly, because otherwise you're going to have the actor Anna Diop just basically, you know, on the wire all the time, flying around, giving the VFX to that. But they are giving it to fans, like, so it is going to be a bit of a cool fan servicey kind of thing. Granted that it does fit in with the logic of her character this season, because apparently she's more powerful than ever before. All right, fellow Titans, I think I'm going to end this part of the discussion series for Season 4 off-season content right here. I hope you enjoyed what we got into today. Do let me know if you want to see more of these. They don't take too much time for me to, you know, all I do is talk about it. So if you guys want to, you know, see more videos like this, do let me know. And if you do as well, just let me know any more ideas, comments, questions, or theories you have for part 2, because I will take screenshots of those and maybe I will release another one of these on the channel in the next couple of weeks. I mean, again, don't forget, we're not getting Titans this month, so I want to keep releasing some kind of Titans content for you guys, and I think one of the best ways to do that is, of course, like theory videos and stuff like that, but what is a better way? And that is to do theories, like a theory video, but engaging with you guys, the community, and getting into it all together. But for now, I would really appreciate it and ask you to like this video, especially if you got this far. Consider subscribing, and if you're already subscribed, I know some of you might have the notification bell button ticked, but do check it again and make sure it's not set to personalized. Click all, and that means you'll get notified about absolutely everything. As always, in the description, links to my social media, Twitter, and all that good stuff. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Titans in the next video. Goodbye.